Hello, it's Candy Michael. I want to show you one of the fun fold cards that I made. It has quite a bit of steps and it was easier when everyone was here, and I know a few of you got this to go, so I want to show you the card we're going to make. So this is the card. It actually is a full card that'll open up this way. You're going to have your black and white pieces. You're going to have 2 blacks and 2 whites for each card, and you're making 2 of each card, so you'll be making 2 of this. I did not do any of the stamping for you, but hopefully you'll have some stamps that you can put in there. So the way this works on the front is you pull on this and it's our fun fold. So it has this little mechanism and it's just a few steps, but it's not hard to do. So let me go ahead and show you. Also, I did color the ribbon. You'll see it's white here, and I do have a Stampin' Blend. I use the black one, so I will go ahead and color this for you in case you don't have a Stampin' Blend. But let me get started because there's quite a few steps here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I took your white embossing folder and I ran it through the embossing machine, and this one is a brick. I think you can see that on there. So what's super cool is, well, let me walk through some of these, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to drag the black pad across to give it this look. So let me just walk through all the parts and pieces that I have before I start going on as to how to put it together. You're going to have, per card, you're going to have a large black square and a smaller, and these are stitched. So those 2 go together. That's the very front. This is going to have your, you will be gluing on your wreath and then later on popping up the bow. And then you're going to have 2 smaller squares, the small black and the small white. Only the black is stitched, the white is not. That will fit right on there. You're going to want to do your stamping on here ahead of time, whatever it is you want to do. But that big one is on the outside and the smaller one is here on the inside. Okay, a little bit of explanation here. This is our pulling mechanism, and I say that because I'm going to show you it is scored here, and how I put all of this together will be what makes a bigger difference. So this shorter part is what's actually on the inside of the card. So when you fold this, you're going to want to have a bone folder and get a good crease on that, but you're going to want to fold both of those score lines. Okay, and then we'll set that aside. But that's going to be part of your mechanism that actually makes the card pop right there. This part that I did, and I'll bring this back, I rounded it using a die. But for you guys, what I'm going to do just to make it easy is I'm going to show you how to round it using a punch. And so I have a retired 2.5-inch circle punch. You're going to open this up and take your piece, the longer piece. The shorter piece is for the card pot part, but this is for the pulling mechanism. So I'm just going to feed this in right to the edge. I don't want to cut too much off. And I want it to be even. And just punch a little bit off to make that a rounded edge. Isn't that cool? So you just need a punch that's a little bit larger. And I will do that on both of your pieces here. Okay? So I have that done because I'm going to show you how to put this whole thing together. All right. So the first thing you're going to want to do, and I'm going to bring this over, is I want to drag my ink pad across my white, and that is to give it that look, just kind of like a worn look. Looks really cool. Oh, there we go. So just drag it across. Give it a second to dry. I'm sure it's dry that quickly, but we'll just give it a second. This piece is going to be the front, and this is going to get glued on. So let's go ahead and do that now. Just gonna glue this down. Whatever kind of glue you want, you just want it to be strong there and hold that front on. Okay, so we're gonna do this. The inside parts are all the same, but I did emboss the outside folder for you. So that just gives it a really cool look. And if I had a better hold on it, it would have been a little more even, but hey, that's what gives it the look, right? Eventually, this will be glued down to our 11. I cut it long, 11 by 4 1/4, and it is scored for you. I did use our thick cardstock, so you're gonna see it feels super strong. Eventually, but I have to finish doing all the other parts, this will get glued to the front, just so you know. Okay, so after we glue this on, what we need to do is I used like the old word window punch, or this was another one of our punches that we had. If you don't have a punch, you can actually cut it out like with an X-Acto knife. But I'm just going to put this in. Now, mind you, this big piece of black is going to fold. So I don't want my punch up too high or it's going to be off my card. So I'm actually going to exaggerate and kind of come into the middle, because again, this has to stay on the front of the card. This is where the flapping mechanism will go. So I don't need these pieces. I am throwing them away. All right, so now we have our hole. This piece that we did originally is the piece that will feed in here, and it's the piece that will sit behind. So eventually this will pull and make this flip and flop open, okay? So what I'm gonna do before I set this down is I'm going to add a bunch. Let me leave this in here so I can remember where it's gonna go. But I'm gonna put dimensionals on the back, okay? So let's go ahead and put those on. Hopefully I have everything in the camera for you. So I do not want to glue this white down, but I can come close to the edges here. And I am going to exaggerate and use a lot. I do. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to leave those on for now so that I can continue to keep building, all right? So let's go to our white mechanism. I'm going to call that the mechanism piece. And I'll put these down. Now, I guess I could go ahead and stamp. I wasn't going to, but I will. Let's just do a quick little stamping. What did I have on this card? Some people make life better, I think it says. Like I said, I wasn't going to stamp. I was going to try to make this simple, but I feel like I just feel like I need to. All right, so we're going to ink this up in the black ink. And I'm going to put this right about there. Okay, and then I'm going to add just a little sprig. And I am going to do it in black. You can add some color, but I love the black and white look. So I'm just going to ink this up. And if you need to, you can always stamp it off. But I think I'm going to fit it right on there. Yay. Okay, so we have that together. And you can stamp on the very inside of your card if you want. But let's go ahead and we need to glue this down. So I'm going to just put a little bit of glue here. And glue this onto this is my small square, and this piece of white has actually been hand cut. So you know, it's not a stitched one. It's the smallest one, and this is gonna go on the inside. So the very, very first thing we wanna do once we have our square, let me go ahead and get the other one, and then I can show you them together. So this is our front piece. I'm not doing any stamping on this because eventually our wreath will be glued onto it. But let's go ahead and glue the white onto the black. And so I can just show you very quickly how this whole piece goes together. Our whole card. Okay, let's set that aside. So the first thing I want to do is on our score lines, you have 2. So I want to back it off and kind of tuck that second one underneath. I want this to go on here. I'm going to come right up to the camera, and I'm going to want it to go right almost to the edge, but I want just a incy-bincy bit of that white showing, okay? So you can use either your, like this kind of glue, or you can use your tear tape. But let me tell you what you need to do. Do not put glue here. You want to put your glue here. So I'm going to go ahead and be daring, but the thing I love about using this glue is I can move my piece around. Okay, so you have to remember this goes to the right, so this is up. I hope you guys can see this in here. So I'm going to take this piece and just find the center, and I'm going to slide it right where I need it. That's why I love this glue. Okay, so I'm using it so that I have just like that. Okay, now I'm going to push it back a little bit, and I have this little bit of an edge here. So with this, I'm going to use my tear tape just so that it doesn't get to be too messy. Sometimes that other glue I use, I love it, but it can be a little bit messy. So on here, I want to put it right there on this little edge. Okay, now I may have it hanging over. Oops, sorry. I may have it hanging over just a little bit. So just tuck it in and pull it up from the side here and then tuck that in. Okay. So now this is our front. I'm going to take my bigger square. Where's my white paper? So I'm going to take my bigger square, and I want it centered right over this. So I can take it, and you want this to go right to the edge. Okay, so I want that centered and right to the edge. Oops, and make sure that is straight. Okay. So when I pull on it, it'll actually flip and flop up. Well, this piece will end up being glued down, but that's what it's supposed to look like. Big square on the front, right to that folded score line edge, and then this one to the first score line edge. Okay, so I hope you guys got that. That's the most important part of this card. All right, next let's take a little hole punch. Punch a hole. This is such an old punch. It's hilarious. It's all like rusty. Take a hole punch, punch a hole. Now while we're waiting, let's go ahead and color in our ribbon. And I'll show you how I did that. So I used our blends. These blends are alcohol markers, and they are so awesome. This is all you literally have to do. I'm telling you. You can color any ribbon, and even if your ribbon has like another color to it, you can color it. All right, so I'm just gonna set that off to dry for a quick minute, and then I'll do this one. Isn't that cool, you guys? And you can have it darker, you can have it a little lighter. It's just whatever you want for that look. So let me finish this here on the edging I missed. There. Now, it will be a tiny bit wet, so make sure you use a wipe to clean off your inky fingers. As I say that, I'm going to grab one because they're across the room, of course. Oops, they're right here. All right. So then the next step to this one is the simple assembling. So I'm going to let my ribbons dry. Pop those over here for a minute, for a quick second. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my dimensionals off. Not the dimensionals, the little papers on the back. Let's expose our dimensionals. That's a better way of saying it. Let's expose our dimensionals. All right, I'm going to use my base piece here, and I want to glue this down. Now, notice this is all open. It doesn't have any dimensionals here because I want that mechanism to move. Don't want it to be glued down. So glue that in the center. Now this piece can just go right underneath here. And when we glue it on, but I first want to put my ribbon on, but when we glue it on, you want to make sure that it doesn't overlap or it won't fit in your envelope. So you want this to come right to the edge before you glue it down, okay? But we're going to put our ribbon on. I'm going to hope and pray that it's dry. I simply just took my ribbon and folded it. Stick it in and just make it like a little loop. You could just tie it, whatever works easiest for you. But I just pulled it through a loop like that. And if you're worried about tearing it, just do it very carefully, like one piece at a time. Okay? You can always go back and do that later. So that looks good, and I'll trim it up later. So next, what I want to do is I want to take, here, let me divide this out so you can see it better. Oh yeah, you're going to have 2 of those ribbons. So I'm going to divide this between my larger square and my smaller square. So my smaller square, I want to take a piece of my tear tape, and I'm going to put it right here on this little lip. Can you see that? Just right here. Okay. Only on this little square. This is what's actually going to hold our card in place so that this mechanism can move. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to position this right at the edge so it's not sticking out, so that my card will fit in the envelope. So I need to go ahead and pull off that tape. So I'll get that, and then I'll hold my card in place so that it's straight. Okay, so for this one, I want it to be right about there. And that's what I love about using this type of tape also, is that I'm not going to make a big glue mess. So let's see if that goes there, that goes there. So what's going to happen is this bottom piece is going to get glued down. And then when it opens, ta-da, surprise, surprise. And then that goes back in. Yay, isn't that cool? Okay, so at the very end, you can glue down your wreath. You can pop up your little bow and pop it up right there. And then I do have a couple little doodads, some little embellishments for you, one for each bow, because you're making 2 cards. So hopefully that makes sense. The last thing you're going to do is take your, oops, that was part of the bow that when I die cut it, I didn't clean it. But you're going to have, here, I'll show you the finished card. You're going to have a little strip. That's what this is for. You can put on a little hello. Some people did make this a sympathy card. You could make it a birthday card. You can make it whatever you want. But I did give you a little strip like this for your sentiment on the front. And then on the inside, you're going to have your black piece and your white layers. And then you could just stamp a little flower or something on there to make it all go. So there's your fun fold card for the black and white with the wreath. Now let me just show you the other 2 cards. And hopefully it will all make sense just looking at it. Okay, so this is one of them that you'll be using. I did use the Night of Navy ink. And I did, some people made this a sympathy, some made it a birthday. I did emboss, but you're going to take this ribbon and tuck it under this first layer. And then tape it on the back. This ribbon is gorgeous, but make sure you tape it before you put it on the back of the, before you glue that down. And then here's your fold. Isn't that cool? It's just a front little fold. It's really nice. And I stamped the color of the designer paper on the inside, but you can make it all the blue, whatever works. And then a little pop of bling on there. And so that's the second card. And the last card is an easel card. So let me just walk you through this. This is our, I can't even think of the exact name, but our little cherries, as you see. But it's an easel card that will stand like that when you're all done. So it's all scored and ready for you. You're going to pop this little piece up here with dimensionals after you put all of your little cherry on top. And that's so that it'll hold that back. Wouldn't this be darling with a photograph? Oh my gosh, it would be. So your piece here, this dark green, is actually scored and glued. The smaller piece is glued behind. So you have your dark green and your light green, which is your evergreen and your pear. And that piece is actually glued in between them. So make sure you use a strong glue, again, like this, that's going to hold that in place. so that when you're ready, and then you only want to put the glue on the back side of this, so only this part gets glued down, so that can pop up and stand like that. Isn't that nice? And you have a little bit of paper over here on this side. So hopefully that makes sense for you. At the very end, you can tie your bow. I'm sorry, it's just a knot. So those are the cards for your fun fold. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really super hope that you have so much fun making these. I know I did. I had a lot of fun designing them for you. And I'm looking forward to our next class together. Thanks again for joining me, and you have an awesome rest of the day. Bye-bye.